What were you thinking? My shoes tapped lightly against the polished floors as I walked back and forth across my room. Not too far away and sitting on the edge of my bed is Kirishima, his crimson eyes trained on the floor while he's listening to my words. I've been scolding him ever since we stepped foot into my room. The soldier's head stayed tilted downwards, silent when I turned to glance his way again, crossing my arms and staring down at his figure now. He had tried to talk to me as soon as he stepped foot out of the dining room and started our departure back to my room, but I shushed him and he only obliged, falling behind me silently, until we got to my room and skipped back to now. It takes a few seconds for him to catch that I had fallen quiet, his red eyes flickering upwards to meet mine. I'm sorry, it's just I saw how uncomfortable he made you feel, and I couldn't just stand by and watch, you know? He trails off, crimson eyes falling back to the floor again. His shoulders are slouched now, and after a few seconds of just rethinking over his words, I sigh, pitching the bridge of my nose and closing my eyes momentarily. I forgive you. I started off, causing him to look up while I'm shaking my head down at him. But you need to remember that even though you are my guard, you are also a low-rank human. I explained, still really not liking the fact that I said that. Just promise me you won't say or do anything out of line like that again, even if I am uncomfortable. I add, my stare sharing sternly with my words, but he doesn't move his head to agree or not. He stays silent, my hand falling from my face to rest on my hip while my brows furrow. Kirishima, I call worryingly, causing him to tilt his head up to meet my gaze. Promise me you will never do anything dangerous like that, ever again, I say, and after staring up at me for what felt like a few more moments, he furrows his brows and nods his head. Okay, I promise. The air seems to dim after that, his sad tone piquing the sympathy in me and causing me to turn away as I cross my arms over my chest again. I can't let him off the hook with this. He put himself in danger, so I would still very much like to be mad at him right now. Okay, just let me be. But after glancing at his still slouched figure sitting on the side of my bed, I couldn't help but sigh. Fine, how about this? I pause, capturing his attention and causing those red eyes to flicker up at me. We make a safe gesture, I stated, and only when I use this gesture are you allowed to do something dangerous to get me out of a situation, I explained, and he seems to lighten up the idea, nodding swiftly. Even if it means talking against the king? He wonders, and I laugh. No. My voice falls straight into a serious one. Never do that again. I continue with my glance, and he smirks and shrinks back into his seat just a bit. Anyways, it should be something simple and easy to notice, I say, as I lift my hand to tap my chin lightly. I'm only doing this to use this gesture in a hidden way to let you know I'm in danger, so... My voice trails off in thought. Any ideas? I wonder towards the redhead, and he only shrugs. Why should you just tap me twice or something? He suggests, and I shake my head. It needs to be more subtle, and what if I'm across the room from you or not near enough for you to touch you? I put down, and he nods, head leaning back as he continues to brainstorm. And after a few moments, he snaps his fingers, capturing my attention and causing my eyes to flicker over towards the direction. Got it. Okay, so take your left hand. He starts off, lifting his own to his face and waiting for me to mirror his movements, lifting mine like his. Okay, now just bring it up to your nose and tap it. He comments, flickering the tip of his finger against his nose and causing me to follow his movements easily. I pause, thinking over the idea and slowly nodding. That doesn't seem too bad, actually. I comment and he nods. Yeah, but I watch Kirishima stop for a moment and lightly groan. Oh, but what if your hands are bound? He wonders, and I snort slightly, my smile falling across my features as I watch the crimson soldier. Kirishima, if my hands are bound, that probably means they are bad guys. I deadpan, and he pauses in his attention to argue, his face fluffing embarrassment before he nods. Oh, right. I continue to smile for a bit after that, trotting back over to him to approach the balcony doors. As I come up to the glass, I reach out and push the handle down, causing a small click to the door leans open, letting the warm air in. I couldn't help but sigh as I stepped out, soon hearing Kirishima move from the bed to follow after me as I exited out into the darkness of the night. Actually, scratch the darkness part, the moon casted over everything, coating the world in a soft glow and showcasing the horizon beyond the castle walls. "It's a nice night," I commented, placing my hands on the railing and leaning forward slightly as I looked out amongst the land. "Yeah," Kirishima agrees, moving to stand at my side. He doesn't speak after that, his voice falling silent between us, and I don't bother speaking when he fidgets beside me. "What's on your mind, Kirishima?" I ask, seeing him look to me from the corner of his eyes. "When this is all over, and we take you home, what happens to us?" He wonders, and I shrug. "I'll be sure to put in a good word for you and your friends. You'll all mostly get recommended to higher-ranking officials after that and continue to work together." I explain off the top of my head, but the crimson soldier shakes his head towards my words, causing me to turn my head to meet his gaze, his brows furrowing in the sight of sadness. "No, I mean, what happens to us?" he repeats, pointing a finger back and forth between our figures and causing a light blush to fall across my face. My words trail off as my eyes avert to the floor in a slight thought. "What about us?" I ask, shaking my head. "Nothing. Nothing is going to happen," I say as I turn away. "Oh, what?" This time, I just keep my eyes forward as he speaks. "But I thought we weren't friends. How are we going to see each other?" He continues, now stepping closer while I shake my head. "Kirishima," I call. "You can't stay by my side forever, you know. One way or another, we're going to head back and get separated." I explain with a sigh as he pauses. "Do you trust me?" "Uh-huh," I question, raising a brow in his direction, and he tilts his head down slightly to watch me. "Do you trust me?" He wonders, and I blink up at him again. Yes?" I answer slowly, soon jumping as he reaches out and lightly grabs my hand, pulling it towards him before he kneels down. The position much reminded me of the day he took his oath for me. But this time, both of his hands cup mine like a diamond, gentle and hoped not to break. "Kirishima, what are you?" "I pledge my life for yours. I promise I will protect you," he suddenly states, staring up at me with eyes that now held the reflection of the moonlight in them. "So please, let me stay by your side even after you return home," he states, catching me off guard despite his other actions. "You want to continue being my guard after I return?" I question just to be sure I heard him right, and he nods in confirmation, my gaze softening towards his determined expression. "Then Kirishima, Eijiro." I deadpan towards the small interruption, and he smiles sheepishly. "Sorry. You need my full name to make it official." Yeah, I know," I grumble, letting him fall silent once more. "Kirishima Eijiro, you pledged to give me your life, for me no matter the circumstance?" I officially ask, and he nods. "Yes, my lady." "Do you protect and provide when needed?" I continued, and he nods, keeping his eyes trained on me to further show how committed he was to the simplest words I stated. "Then I place my life in your hands," I confirmed. "You have my permission to stay by my side until you choose to leave," I added, staring down at him with a softness warmth in my chest. He leans forward, closing his eyes for a moment as his lips come in contact with the back of mine, pressing a soft kiss to the skin before looking up back to me. "I wouldn't dream of it," he utters finally, leaving my face flushed from his actions and the attention lingering in his words. "Thank you, Yin." I nodded, captivated by the moonlight that bounced against his crimson gaze. "The pleasure is all mine, Eijiro." Time skip. Well into the night, the Crimson Guard had to be ushered out of my room to avoid any suspicion from possible bystanders that went looking for gossip. And as I poked my head out, the moonlight from my room floods into the hall, lining the opposite wall and letting me glance back and forth to see if the coast was clear, which thankfully it was. "Okay, you can go now." I called quietly behind me. Sadly, this was a castle and not a simple tent where Kirishima would be pushed out from anywhere, whatever. So, him staying the night was not an option. Make sure you get back to your cot and rest, okay? I commented, and he passes by, slagging into the shadow my figure had created from the moonlight. Yes, I will. He nods, smiling in my direction and causing a smile of my own to grace my features. What? I press, and he shrugs his shoulders slightly. Nothing. You just look really pretty in this light. He beams, and I shake my head. Good night, Eiichiro. I sing, pulling the door to close it, and he lightly grabs the side to stop it. Come on, I'm serious. He smiles, and I quickly shush him by leaning my hand to cover his mouth. Shh. I can't help but smile that perks through my attention to quiet the guard, shifting my hand to cup the side of his face when he falls silent. Now he just showcased a closed-mouth smile down at me, the tip of one of his sharp teeth poking out from the bottom of his lip, probably the effect of me covering his mouth mid-sentence. You really are bad at sneaking out of my room, I comment, and I'm unsure if he had done it on purpose, but he leans into my hand. I've been doing it for a while now, and no one's noticed, though. He tries to defend, and I shake my head towards the goofy grin slowly spreading across his features. That doesn't mean someone won't notice someday, I bicker, running my thumb along his cheek. You need to be careful, I stated, and he nods into my hand. Of course, my lady. He replies, and I pull my hand back, his head following the movements for a moment before he seems to catch himself and move back slightly. Now, seriously, good night, Age, I say, using the hand that still rested on the door handle to tug it on slightly. My first nickname? He wonders excitedly, and I snicker slightly. You'll get more if you be quiet and go to your cot already, I stated, and he laughed slightly. Thankfully, not too loud. Fine. Good night, Yin, he calls as he steps back, bringing his hands to show he had finally let go of the door, and I finally was able to pull back the door shut, separating us with a single click. Thinking back to the smile he had as I held his face in my hand, I guess I should get used to this, seeing as he'll be my official guard from now on. Stepping away from the door, I made my way over to my bed, taking notice of the slight ruffle in the sheet he had left behind from sitting on it earlier. As I checked the balcony door to see if it was locked, I glanced at the railing, and I couldn't help but smile that finds its way to my lips at the thought of the crimson-eyed soldier. Red would make a cute nickname, right?